Okay, in this video, we're just going to look at a few simple tips for working on your horse stance. And the first one of those that we're going to look at is alignment. So, if all we do is stand like this with our feet shoulder width apart, and then just bend our knees, pressing them outwards slightly so that the knees come above the feet, and sink our body, that's a horse stance. And in doing that, you're going to get the benefits of a horse stance. The purpose of the horse stance is for us to activate all of the muscles and connective tissues through the legs, both sides of the knee, and then also activate the muscles and connective tissue through the pelvis and through the waist and up through the body, so that this is going to circulate the energy, it's going to stimulate the nerves and the blood flow and so on. So simply doing this is a horse stance, and to begin with, that is going to be fine if that's what you can manage. You're going to get those benefits of activating the blood flow, the nerve activity, and as part of that, the energy flow throughout your body. Of course, the lower you go into a horse stance, the stronger the stimulation is. So ideally, as we keep practicing, we want to get our feet out to twice our shoulder width apart, and we want to sink down so that our thighs are parallel with the ground and our knees are still outwards. You'll notice mine aren't quite above my feet there. Now, as we do that though, we don't want to sacrifice our alignment as part of doing that, because then we're not going to get the benefit. So as we go lower into our stance, if we find that, common things that people find, that either their knees start to come inwards, or that they need to bend their body forwards, or that they excessively arch their back in the opposite direction, you're actually losing the benefit of the horse stance because you're not balancing around those joints anymore. So it's very important to just progress little by little as you're comfortable with that alignment. So again, if this is it, shoulder width apart, that's fine. And just go a little bit further and a little bit further as you're able to, keeping your body upright, your head up, so that your lower back lengthens, and that so you have this sort of open, supported feeling underneath your legs. Okay, so that is the first part. It's alignment and just progressing little by little. The next thing I'd suggest because sometimes if people haven't had a habit of doing these sorts of stances or using their body in this way, it can be hard to activate the correct muscles. And a good way to do this for the horse stance is quite simply to, imagine a bit like you're riding a horse. So you're in this stance, and imagine you're on a horse, and when you're on a horse, you tend to bounce up and down with the motion of the horse as the horse is walking, not if the horse is still, of course. And when we do this, all of these muscles, all of this connective tissue around our legs, around our pelvis, our lower back, and also our pelvic floor, all becomes activated, and we can gently find that balance and activation where we don't have one part pulling too tight and too hard, but we just gently find that point where they're all activating nicely together. So as you settle into your horse stance, particularly when you're learning it, it can be quite good to just bounce a few times to get that activation, and then settle and sit in your horse stance. The last tip for working on your horse stance is about strength. Now, of the things that we've talked about, alignment and activating the right muscles are probably most important, because it doesn't actually take a lot of strength to be in a horse stance. It's more about having that alignment, the appropriate flexibility, and so on. But to begin with, you may have some areas of deficient strength for your horse stance, in which case the simplest way to build this up is simply by practicing doing some squats. And you don't have to do a huge amount, but this is going to strengthen the right muscles so that your horse stance will become easier. So to do that, just again standing shoulder width apart, trying to keep your head upright, and squat down as low as you can to begin with. Now that might not be very far if you don't have great range of motion and strength yet. It might just be a small squat like this, but ultimately you want to aim to squat all the way down, all the way up, all the way down, all the way up. And that's going to build the mobility and the strength that you need for your horse stance. So I hope that's helpful for some of you who are working on improving your horse stance.